Hello, I'm Megan Gallina, and for today's oral presentation, I'll be discussing an article of which I'll be using in my systematic review later in the course. Now, the article is Parental Corporal Punishment Predicts Behavioural Problems in Early Childhood, and it's by Mulvaney and Mebert. Now, the content of today's presentation, I'll discuss the rationale, the aim and the hypothesis, the participants, the method and findings, the conclusions and implications of the study, the limitations and the strengths of the study, and then I'll conclude with why this article is the most relevant to my chosen topic of is punishment and effective behaviour modification strategy in children. So we'll start with the rationale. Now, the researchers found there were limitations in the research at the time. Therefore, a definitive conclusion could not be reached about the effects corporal punishment has upon behaviour modification in children. So the limitations that the researchers came across were one's interpretations of the studies, the style of parenting wasn't investigated, and the characteristics of the child weren't investigated either. So the aim of this study was to predict if corporal punishment is a cause of behavioural issues in early childhood. The hypothesis of the study was corporal punishment causes behavioural issues in early childhood. This brings us to the participants. Now, there were 705 male and 659 female children. The backgrounds of the children were non-Hispanic Caucasian, African American, Hispanic and otherwise classified backgrounds. The mean age of the mothers in the study when the child was born was 28.11 years. Now, the study was longitudinal, so children began at 1 month and then finished in the first grade. Now, before I get to methods, which we'll touch on next, it's important to let you know that with the tests done and the studies done in the method section, they were all conducted at the first month of age, at 6 months of age, 15 months, 24 months, 36 months, 54 months of age, and then again in the first grade. So it was done longitudinal over a long period of time. Now, the methods. Corporal punishment variable was derived from the tool HOME. Now, HOME stands for Home Observation for the Measurement of Environment. So HOME includes home observation by researchers in addition to interviews within the home environment. Now, the home environment is crucial because it is a natural environment where the child and mother will feel comfortable, and therefore you're getting more accurate results. The child behaviour checklist was used to assess child behaviours. Infant temperament questionnaire was used to gain demographic characteristics and temperament, and the Centre for Epidemiological Studies depression scale was used to assess depressive symptomology in the mothers of the children. Observations were also done on maternal sensitivity, so the researchers observed the mother and child at play. So the findings of the research were that low-income families are more likely to use corporal punishment on children, and less than 50% of the mothers were advised not to use corporal punishment from primary parenting resources. Now, they're things like books, magazines, and paediatricians. Corporal punishment can cause mental health problems in children, and additionally, it can cause interruptions or delays with a child's development or learning processes. Corporal punishment can also exacerbate existing behaviours or exacerbate behaviours that are considered normal, so tantrum, chucking at certain ages. Now, one other thing that was highlighted with this research is that corporal punishment can cause the internalizing or externalizing of behaviours. So internalizing behaviour could be poor self-image, externalizing behaviour could be acting out or hitting or smacking other children. Now, the internalization or externalization of behaviours can cause the child to be ostracized within their social settings. The conclusions of the study and the implications. So there's not an abundance of researchers or studies that are supportive of corporal punishment of children. A majority of the evidence reveals that corporal punishment has direct linkage as being a causal factor in behavioural problems. There should be policies created to avoid using corporal punishment on children. Future studies should look at a range of ethnicities and possible impacts on the upbringing of children and the use of corporal punishment. The researchers also felt that another hypothesis should be attended or tested in the future, and that hypothesis is African American ethnicity diminishes negative outcomes associated with corporal punishment. The researchers believe that future research also needs to investigate the creation of, implementation of, and evaluation of educational tools aimed at reducing corporal punishment on children. Now, the limitations of the study were the study didn't include the degree of corporal punishment or the severity of the child behaviours. So what were the behaviours parents felt constituted the use of corporal punishment? And were there undiagnosed genetic factors influencing the children's behaviours? I don't feel this was really touched on in the paper. Were there, the study was limited then to the ages of infants to those children in the first grade. I think that if you look at a child's future, so if you're looking at adolescence, do the effects of corporal punishment go on into the adolescent life and affect their behaviours then? I think that would be interesting to delve into that in the paper or in future studies. Now, the strengths, so the referencing of this study, they used quality articles. The data obtained is useful for the development of educational tools, and the research identifies further areas of study required in that field. So why is this article the most relevant to my chosen topic? So the article comes from a credible source. The article is within a good time frame. It's current. I couldn't find with the literature I was looking at anything that replicated this study that was more current. The article has evidence to support my chosen topic. So it discusses the effects of corporal punishment on early childhood and thus making it beneficial to my systematic review, because my systematic review is punishment an effective behaviour modification strategy in children. I thank you for listening to my oral presentation and I hope you enjoyed it.